Perfect competition. How businesses compete in competitive markets. Have you ever wondered why one gas station can charge several cents more than another, but a farmer growing wheat can't simply decide to charge double the market price? The answer lies in the type of market each business operates in. Some businesses have the power to influence prices, while others have almost none. Farmers, for example, compete with thousands of other producers selling nearly identical products. They don't get to decide what customers will pay. Instead, the market decides for them. In this lesson, we'll explore perfect competition, one of the most important models in economics. Although few industries meet every requirement of perfect competition, this model helps us understand how prices are determined, how businesses decide what to produce, when they should stay open or shut down, and why economists often view competitive markets as highly efficient. Setting the stage. What is perfect competition? Perfect competition describes a market with several important characteristics. First, there are many buyers and many sellers. No single business is large enough to control the market. Second, every firm sells an identical product. One bushel of wheat is essentially the same as another, regardless of who produced it. Because customers see little difference between sellers, businesses cannot easily charge higher prices. Third, buyers and sellers have access to the information they need to make informed decisions. Everyone generally knows the current market price. Finally, firms can enter or leave the market relatively easily. If profits become attractive, new businesses can enter. If losses continue over time, businesses can leave. Because of these conditions, firms in perfect competition are known as price takers. They accept the market price instead of setting their own. Think about a soybean farmer. The farmer doesn't wake up one morning and decide to charge twice as much for soybeans. If every other farmer is selling at the market price, buyers will simply purchase from someone else. The market, not the individual producer, determines the price. Although perfect competition is an idealized model, agricultural markets often come close because thousands of producers sell similar products and compete in national and global markets. How firms decide how much to produce. Once the market determines the price, the firm's most important decision becomes simple to state, but sometimes difficult to answer. How many units should we produce? Every business wants to maximize profit. Remember that profit equals total revenue minus total cost. Since firms in perfect competition cannot change the selling price, increasing revenue means producing and selling more units, but only if doing so is profitable. Economists use two key ideas to answer this question: marginal revenue and marginal cost. Marginal revenue is the additional money earned by selling one more unit. Marginal cost is the additional cost of producing one more unit. For a perfectly competitive firm, marginal revenue is equal to the market price because every additional unit sells for the same price. Now imagine a raspberry farmer. Suppose each package sells for $4. The first package brings in $4. The second package also brings in $4. Every additional package increases revenue by the same amount. But production costs don't behave the same way. At first, adding workers or using equipment more efficiently may reduce the cost of producing each additional package. Eventually, however, the farmer reaches a point where land, labor, or equipment become limiting factors. Producing one more package becomes increasingly expensive. This leads us to one of the most important rules in economics. A perfectly competitive firm maximizes profit by producing where marginal revenue equals marginal cost. Economists often shorten this to MR equals MC. Here's the intuition behind the rule. If producing one more unit adds more revenue than cost, the firm should keep producing. If producing one more unit costs more than the revenue it generates, production should stop. The ideal stopping point occurs where the additional revenue from the next unit is exactly equal to the additional cost of producing it. That is, the profit-maximizing level of output. Short-run decisions, profit, losses, and the shutdown point. Of course, businesses don't always earn profits. Sometimes the market price falls. Sometimes production costs rise. Sometimes firms lose money. Does that mean they should immediately close? Not necessarily. In the short run, many business costs are already committed. Rent, buildings, equipment, and other fixed costs still have to be paid whether the business produces anything or not. Economists divide this decision into three possible situations. First, price is greater than average total cost. In this case, the firm earns an economic profit because revenue covers all production costs and leaves money remaining. Second, price equals average total cost. Here, The firm breaks even. It covers every cost, including the owner's opportunity cost, but earns zero economic profit. That may sound disappointing, but in economics, earning zero economic profit is actually considered a normal long-run outcome. Third, price is below average total cost. Now the firm experiences losses. But here's the important question. Is the selling price still high enough to cover the firm's variable costs, such as labor and raw materials? If the answer is yes, the firm usually continues operating in the short run because it earns enough revenue to pay all variable costs and at least part of its fixed costs. If the price falls below the firm's average variable cost, continuing production actually increases losses. That point is called the shutdown point. Below the shutdown point, the firm minimizes its losses by temporarily stopping production and paying only its fixed costs until market conditions improve. This idea explains why some farms, factories, and businesses temporarily suspend operations during difficult economic periods instead of permanently closing their doors. Long-run adjustment and why competition matters. The long run tells a different story. Unlike the short run, businesses eventually have enough time to enter or leave an industry. Imagine farmers begin earning unusually high profits because demand for corn suddenly increases. Those profits attract new farmers or encourage existing farmers to switch crops. As more producers enter the market, total supply increases. Greater supply eventually pushes prices back down. Over time, those unusually high profits disappear. The opposite happens when firms experience losses. Some businesses eventually leave the industry. As supply falls, prices begin rising again until the remaining firms can cover their costs. This constant process of entry and exit explains why economists say perfectly competitive firms tend to earn zero economic profit in the long run. Zero economic profit doesn't mean businesses fail. It simply means competition prevents firms from consistently earning profits above what is necessary to keep their resources in that industry. Conclusion and key takeaways. Let's finish with the biggest ideas to remember. Perfect competition is characterized by many buyers and sellers, identical products, easy entry and exit, and firms that act as price takers rather than price setters. A firm's most important production decision is choosing the output level where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, because that is where profit is maximized. In the short run, firms may earn profits, break even, or experience losses. Whether they continue operating depends largely on whether the market price covers their variable costs. In the long run, competition encourages new firms to enter profitable markets and causes unprofitable firms to exit. This process pushes markets toward a point where firms earn zero economic profit. Finally, economists value perfectly competitive markets because they encourage businesses to produce efficiently while directing resources toward the goods and services consumers value most. Although few real-world markets are perfectly competitive, this model provides an essential foundation for understanding how businesses make decisions and how competitive markets allocate scarce resources throughout the economy. Make sure to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss a new update. I'm here to help you succeed and get that A. Thanks for watching, and keep thinking like an economist.